I need to tell you exactly what I just witnessed on live television because I am still shaking. My hands are literally trembling as I record this. I have watched thousands of hours of sports television in my life. I have seen every kind of interview, every kind of debate, every kind of breaking news moment that ESPN has ever produced. And I can tell you with absolute certainty that what happened on First Take this morning has never happened before. Not on that show, not on any show. The production team at First Take somehow managed to get Jared Allen's agent on a live video call during the middle of the show, and what unfolded over the next 15 minutes was the most jaw-dropping, information-packed, accidentally revealing interview in the history of sports media. By the time it was over, Stephen A. Smith was standing up with his hands on his head. Shams Charania was furiously typing on his phone underneath the desk. Molly Karam was trying to maintain professional composure while clearly understanding that she had just hosted a segment that was going to break the internet, and I was sitting in my living room with my coffee getting cold because I hadn't moved a single muscle in 15 minutes. Because what that agent said, what he accidentally revealed, what he confirmed through his hesitations and his word choices and his carefully constructed non-denials told me everything I needed to know. Jared Allen is going to be a Golden State Warriors, and I'm going to walk you through every single second of that interview so you can see exactly what I saw. Hey, what's up everyone? Real quick before we get into everything, that like button is literally what determines if this reaches hundreds or thousands of fans. Takes 1 second but makes a huge impact on the channel's growth. Just smash that like button right now. It's the easiest thing you can do, but honestly the biggest way to support this content. Every single like pushes this further, so hit it now. Let me set the scene, because the context matters. The show was in the middle of a segment about the Warriors center situation heading into the play-in tournament. They were discussing how Porzingis got absolutely destroyed by Alperen Sengun. They were talking about Al Horford being out with a calf injury. They were discussing the Charles Bassey signing and whether a G League pickup can really be the answer for a franchise trying to make a playoff run. And Shams, who has been appearing on First Take more frequently as a contributor, mentioned that he had been hearing rumblings about the Warriors being active in exploring center options. And he said the name Jarrett Allen has come up in multiple conversations with league sources. That's when the producer apparently made the decision to bring Allen's agent onto the show via video call, and when the agent's face appeared on the screen, you could tell immediately that this was not a planned, prepared, scripted appearance. This was a man who was caught slightly off guard by the scope of the questions that were about to come his way. And that's what made the next 15 minutes so incredibly revealing. Stephen A. wasted no time. He went straight for the jugular. His first question was, "Sir, I appreciate you joining us. Let me ask you directly, have the Golden State Warriors been in contact with your client's representatives about a potential deal?" And the agent paused. He paused for about 2 seconds, which in live television feels like an eternity. And then he said, "Look, Stephen A., I appreciate the question, but you know I can't discuss the specifics of any private conversations that may or may not be happening with any organization." Now, I need you to understand something about agent speak. When an agent says, "I can't discuss specifics of conversations that may or may not be happening," that is agent code for yes, conversations are happening, but I'm contractually and professionally obligated not to confirm it directly. If no conversations were happening, the agent would simply say, "No, we haven't spoken with Golden State." That's an easy denial. The fact that he chose to neither confirm nor deny, the fact that he used the phrase "may or may not be happening," told me immediately that something is going on between Jarrett Allen's camp and the Warriors. Stephen A. clearly picked up on the same thing because he leaned forward and said, "With all due respect, sir, you didn't say no. And in my experience, when an agent doesn't say no, that means yes." And the agent did something that almost made me fall off my couch. He smiled. Not a big smile, not a laugh, just a slight, almost imperceptible upturn at the corners of his mouth. And he said, "Stephen A., I've been in this business for 20 years. I know better than to confirm or deny anything on national television. What I will say is that Jarrett is focused on his career and is open to any situation that maximizes his potential. Open to any situation that maximizes his potential. Let me decode that for you, because that phrase is loaded with meaning. When an agent says his client is open to any situation, he's signaling that the client is not locked into his current team, he's available. And when he adds that maximizes his potential, he's talking about fit, he's talking about system, he's talking about a situation where the player can be the best version of himself. And what team in the NBA is more known for maximizing player potential through system and coaching than the Golden State Warriors? That phrase was not chosen randomly. It was a signal. Then Shams jumped in with a question that I think was strategically brilliant. Instead of asking directly about the Warriors, he asked a broader question about what Jarrett Allen values most in his next basketball home. He said, "What does Jarrett prioritize when evaluating potential landing spots? Is it money? Is it winning? Is it system fit?" And the agent said something that made me pause the recording and rewind 3 times. He said, "Jarrett has always valued being part of a team-first environment. He's a player who doesn't need the ball. He doesn't need to be the focal point of the offense. He wants to play with great players in a great system where his specific skill set is maximized. He wants to protect the rim, set screens, finish at the basket, and be part of something special." I need you to read those words again. Doesn't need the ball. Team-first environment. Great players. Great system. Protect the rim. Set screens. Finish at the basket. Be part of something special. Estoy. That is a word-for-word description of the Golden State Warriors. That is literally the Warriors' job description for a center. If you were writing a job posting for the Warriors center position, those would be the exact qualifications listed. And the fact that Allen's agent used those exact words on national television tells me that either he was being incredibly careless with his language, or he was intentionally sending a message to the Warriors and to the basketball world about where his client wants to be. Stephen A. was practically vibrating at this point. He said, "Sir, everything you just described sounds exactly like what the Golden State Warriors need, and exactly what the Warrior system demands from a center. Are you telling me that's a coincidence?" And the agent did the thing again, the smile, that barely perceptible knowing smile. And he said, "I'm not telling you anything, Stephen A. I'm just describing what my client values as a basketball player." And Stephen A. threw his hands in the air and said, "That's the loudest non-answer I've ever heard in my life." Then Shams followed up with another surgical question. He asked about the timeline. He said, "Is there urgency on your client's end to have his situation resolved before the playoffs begin?" And the agent said, "Jarrett is a professional. He's prepared for any scenario. But yes, ideally, everyone involved would prefer clarity sooner rather than later so that there's time for integration and preparation. Sooner rather than later, time for integration and preparation." That tells me this isn't an off-season discussion. This is a right now discussion. This is a "we want to get this done before the play-in tournament" discussion. Because why would you need time for integration and preparation if you're talking about a move that's happening in the summer? You wouldn't. You'd have all summer to integrate. The urgency language tells me that both sides want this done in time for Allen to actually play for the Warriors in meaningful games this season. And with the play-in coming up next week, the timeline is incredibly tight, which means if this is happening, it's happening in the next few days. Now let me step back from the interview for a moment and give you my own analysis of why this fit makes so much sense from a basketball perspective, because everything the agent described aligns perfectly with what the Warriors need. The Warriors' biggest weakness all season has been rim protection. They've been playing 4-guard lineups out of necessity. Porzingis just got absolutely cooked by Sengun because he doesn't have the physical strength to body up against true post players. Al Horford is 40 years old and dealing with a calf injury. Charles Bassey is promising, but has serious durability concerns given his history of knee injuries. The Warriors need a real center, a center who can protect the rim at an elite level, a center who can rebound, a center who can finish at the basket, a center who can set screens for Steph Curry. Jarrett Allen is all of those things. Think about what the Warriors offense looks like with Allen in the pick and roll with Steph. Allen sets a bone-crushing screen. The defender gets caught. Steph comes off the screen with options. If the defense goes under the screen, Steph pulls up for 3. If the defense goes over, Steph drives to the basket. If they switch, Steph has a smaller defender on him. And in every one of those scenarios, Allen is rolling hard to the basket as the secondary option. He's catching lobs, he's finishing on dump-off passes, he's getting offensive rebounds on misses. The Steph Allen pick and roll would be one of the most efficient actions in the entire NBA because Allen is one of the best roll men in basketball and Steph is the greatest shooter of all time. When the screener can finish at the rim and the ball handler can shoot from 35 feet, the defense has no good options. It's a mathematical impossibility to defend both things simultaneously. And defensively, Allen transforms the Warriors. He's a legitimate rim protector who averages over a block per game and deters countless other shots through his mere presence at the basket. With Allen anchoring the paint, Draymond Green can roam and play free safety, which is where he's most effective at this stage of his career. The guards can be more aggressive on the perimeter because they know if they get beat off the dribble, there's a 7-foot, 240-pound center waiting at the rim to clean up the mess. The entire defensive scheme improves because having a real rim protector allows everyone else to play their natural roles instead of compensating for the lack of size in the paint. Going back to the interview, there was one more exchange that I think was the most telling of the entire segment. Toward the end, Molly asked a general question about whether Allen has any preferences in terms of conference or city, and the agent said, "Jarrett is a basketball player first and foremost. He loves the Bay Area. He's spoken highly of the culture out there. But at the end of the day, he just wants to win. He loves the Bay Area. He's spoken highly of the culture out there. Do you understand what just happened? The agent just told the entire world that Jarrett Allen has specifically mentioned the Bay Area in positive terms. He didn't say Jarrett loves New York or Jarrett is excited about LA. He said he loves the Bay Area. That is not a generic statement. That is a specific geographic reference to where the Golden State Warriors play their home games. And when Stephen A. pointed that out, when he said, "Sir, you just mentioned the Bay Area specifically," the agent immediately tried to walk it back by saying, "I was speaking generally about West Coast culture, but the damage was done. The information was out there, and everyone in that studio and everyone watching at home knew exactly what it meant." By the time the video call ended, the energy in the studio was electric. Stephen A. turned to Shams and said, "Tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me that man just told us everything without telling us anything." And Shams, who is typically measured and careful with his words, said, "I think we just learned a lot more than the agent intended for us to learn. I'm making some calls right now." And he literally pulled out his phone and started texting while still on camera. So here's where I stand on this. Based on everything I just watched, based on every word that agent said and didn't say, based on every smile and every pause and every carefully constructed non-denial, I believe Jarrett Allen is heading to the Golden State Warriors. The basketball fit is perfect. The agent's description of what Allen values matches the Warriors system exactly. The urgency language suggests this is happening soon, not in the offseason. The specific mention of the Bay Area was not accidental, and the fact that the agent chose to appear on the show at all, knowing the kinds of questions that would be asked, tells me that Allen's camp is comfortable with the public perception that a Warriors deal is in play. Because if they wanted to keep things quiet, they simply wouldn't have accepted the invitation. Dub Nation, I think this is it. I think the Warriors are about to add a legitimate all-star caliber center to a roster that already has Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and a collection of talented young players. And when Jarrett Allen puts on that Warriors jersey, the entire equation in the Western Conference changes. The play-in game against Portland or the Clippers suddenly looks a lot more winnable. The potential first-round matchup looks a lot less daunting, and the long-term future of the franchise looks a lot brighter. Subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comments, and stay locked in because this could happen at any moment. And when it does, you're gonna want to say you heard it here first.